Ladies and gentlemen, grab a beverage, turn up the volume, and welcome to Trucking with Tammy, with your favorite trucking host, Tammy.
Editing it and throwing it on all the socials, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook when we're done. But you guys get the nitty gritty of the first one. So, welcome. Today I have Brittney Richardson with me. Brittney Richardson is no stranger to the transportation industry. Is it echoing?
Nope, I'm good over here.
Hold on, can you?
Uh-oh.
Still echoing? Hey guys, we're gonna test it. Are we still echoing?
Okay, I had to turn you up on my end.
Okay. Thank you, Racer Dad, for letting you know. Okay, so like I said, Brittney is no stranger to the transportation industry. Most of you know her as Brittney in Pink or from American Truckers. So welcome to the first podcast, Brittney.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
So we have been chit-chatting like girls while we were waiting to get this party started.
I was like so anxious to join. I'm like, come on, let's just hit the button. Let's hit the button.
Yeah, we were ready like 20 minutes before the scheduled time. So, Brittney, let's talk shop here. So you have been tackling many different positions over the year that are typically male-dominated industries.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. I think everyone. Let me move it over here so I can see you on my big screen. So I got to see your facial expressions to connect here. But yeah, no, I mean, literally I think almost every job I've had has been male dominated. And I grew up with a brother who was close to my dad, probably closer to him than my mom. And so, yeah, I've faced a lot of challenges with that.
So way before you hit transportation, you were actually in service careers, police officer and firefighter?
Yeah, I started in arms. Actually, I started in resort security, unarmed, and progressed to armed security, a patrol service that was deputized by the sheriff's office. So we had arrest powers, basically parallel to law enforcement. And then after that, I went to different security companies where I progressed to captain. I was one of three in charge of Tulsa, Oklahoma for U.S. Security and Associates. I then transferred to Kansas and got a job working campus police and fire out in Larned State Hospital. So we saw a lot. We dealt with a lot. That was an interesting experience. After that, I progressed to trucking.
So what was the transition from that to trucking? For mine, it was midlife crisis. What was yours?
Oh my God. It was like all out hell. I was just so sick of the politics. I was so sick. I had gotten reprimanded for insubordination. So I guess that was the tipping point. If you want to focus on like one big thing that, was the deal breaker. So we had these reports on, we managed the sexual predator treatment program, which that was interesting in and of itself. But we would do these patrols and we would talk to unit staff, different inmates and stuff like that on our patrols. We were getting these reports that this one particular inmate was planning a breakout of the prison. And they kept trying to report it, and the lieutenant was tearing it up and just throwing out the reports. And so I tried to bring it up to him personally. Hey, this is a real concern. This guy has broken out twice in the past, and he's a dangerous guy. Like, we can't let this happen. He said, oh, BS, we've upgraded our security. We don't need to worry about it. So he ordered me to stand down, and I continued to investigate, write reports. I varied my patrols. I got reprimanded for that. They wanted patrols at the same time every night to check the perimeters. I said, hell no. A guy's planning an escape. They can see us out the window. He knows when we're going to be there. I'm varying my patrols. I was documenting plates, pulling vehicles over. I had everything. Long story short, on my days off, 3 days off on a weekend, this guy escapes. And I get an emergency call in to come and do a search mission to try to find this guy and set up a perimeter. And after that, I kind of got complimented, but it made the lieutenant look like an ass. And so there was still a lot of conflict. Anyway, I got so sick of being blamed for everything when I'm trying to protect the public. And so I said, you know what? Driving a truck, hitting the open road, that sounds amazing. I could read books. I have my own space. I get paid better, and I don't have to deal with these politics.
Okay, so you dive into trucking. Where'd you go to school? Where'd you get your training?
It was Crowder College in Neosho, Missouri. And
see, I did the college route too. I went to Fox Valley up in Wisconsin. So I always tell people now when they say, "Who do you recommend?" I always say a college program.
Oh yeah, it was an outstanding program. I loved it. It was like 6 weeks or 4 weeks? I don't remember. It was a chunk of time. So I worked extra in campus PD, saved up my PTO time and cashed it out as a check. That paid for my schooling and my time out of work. And
so then you didn't have to worry about that downtime.
Exactly. But it was terrifying because you realize you're in this position where I only have my last check. Like, that's it. So if I fail this, and people were telling me, you're an idiot, you shouldn't do this, you're gambling your life away. Because if I fail, I'm out. I'm going to lose my house. I don't have any more money. And so it was scary.
Right. So there was no option to fail then. I mean, at that point, it was, no option.
That's probably a good thing. I mean,
right. Yeah. So first trucking company, who did you pick?
It was sponsored by Conway Truckload out of Joplin, Missouri. And they actually paid for half of my schooling.
Oh, nice.
And so, so I was with them for a little over a year, I believe. Dry van, yep. Good company. They kept sending me to Canada. So I got tired of the paperwork of going back and forth into Canada, and that's kind of why I left them. Plus, I wanted to be home more.
Okay, so through this, at the beginning of your career, then you're learning things over the road. What are you seeing that makes you think, hey, I want to be, I want to show the world this?
Oh, as far as the social media?
Mm-hmm.
I think sheer boredom.
Boredom is what did it?
You know what I mean? I mean, with some of my, I guess it sunk in about the time. I did a little bit with Conway, but I didn't really have a channel or do much. But when I was with Hogan, I was doing night runs from Kansas City to St. Louis and back, just shuttle runs each night. I knew every crack of the road on I-70,
Right.
And I was just so bored. I like to talk to people. And so I realized this is like therapy for me. Let's connect with people, key up the camera and just film my night.
Right.
And funny things would happen. Crazy, scary things would happen. And it was entertaining. And one of my first videos had like 1,700 views for a channel of like one sub. That's a lot. So
right. So they like your content, right? So you're starting small then with social media. So where was the line in trucking where you decided that, hey, this is pretty interesting, maybe I should dive a little deeper into it?
I think the big differentiating factor was that I realized you could make revenue with it. And it wasn't about the money to me, but I saw the opportunity because if I realized trucking's like a trap sometime. I mean, you get so many days of home time, that's it. And if you didn't make a lot of money, or even as a lease purchase operator, you're paying for your own fuel. Sometimes you go broke. And so I realized, what if I could make a revenue stream from social media to where I then could be in a better position to take more home time and be with family and do other things. Right. And so that was my ultimate goal. And in the end, I had that with my last company before things went bad. So
who were you trucking for? Who was your trucking company when you decided to take the big leap?
I guess it was after Hogan, my videos had kind of started taking off. I really enjoyed it. some of the people in the company were kind of coming down on the film thing and the liability. So I went with a mom and pop who said, I don't care if you film anywhere. We don't care. Just bring the loads to point A to B safely, you know? And so that was kind of my open road for film. And I was just like, okay, I'm filming everything. I'm walking around with a camera. Like, I'm nearly getting kicked out of places. I kind of had to learn a few lessons there. But.
And that's when your YouTube channel really started taking off about that time.
It did. I hit my first, I think, 4,000 subs around that time, and things, I just thought the sky fell out, you know? It was
nice.
Great. So, yeah. And after that, yeah, I mean, some things happened with that trucking company, and I really started to look at lease purchase and thinking, okay, this could be a good deal because I can take as much home time as I want as long as I make that truck payment.
Right.
So I'm like, if we could drive up the social media, then my core bills are taken care of. I can take as much time off as I want and still drive and have fun. And that's what I did. And I was at the top of my world, you know, living the dream at that point.
Okay, so you did lease purchase. So a lot of people look at lease purchase as, you know, into a yay or nay category. I myself did it too before I got my authority. Just I think is a necessary step. So that, you know, that you're still protected under the main company before you make the leap out on your own. So for you, what, you know, the company that you went to, I believe that's with Pink, when you got Pink then.
It is.
What did they offer you? I mean, did they have a good lease purchase program at the time? What was the benefits for you?
They had a great lease purchase program at the time. They had outstanding reviews on social media, which was most important to me from other truckers. And when I went in, I decided, so they had said in this one commercial, we're not the type of company that has high security and closes the doors and we hide behind windows. You can walk right in. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put them to the test. So I walked right I walked right past the dispatch team and everything. And I was like, where's the recruiting office?
Did you have the camera? That's what I want to know. Did you have your camera on?
No, I wasn't that bold.
Okay.
I was like, I don't want to piss them off right off the bat. But,
ease them into it a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. So I went inside and I was talking to a recruiter and I was telling her, the only thing is I do the social media stuff and I want to make sure it's not a problem with you guys. I know some companies are touchy on it. Anyway, while I'm saying this, this lady pops her head around the corner and goes, what'd you say? I was like, I have a big following on social media and I love doing film. And she's like, we are looking for a brand ambassador. We just started this week and we have these tryouts where you send in a video and whoever wins has the opportunity to lease purchase the Pink breast cancer awareness truck. And I was like, oh my God, that's like my favorite color too, right? So I'm like super stoked. And I threw my video in and it got voted #1. They chose me, and that next thing I'm in the truck and hitting the road. And I filmed that moment that day.
Yeah.
I just got the truck. Oh my God. It was so sad. I was like almost crying. I was happy, but I was like almost crying because I'm leaving my husband. I'm leaving family. And once again, I'm going to be out on the road for who knows how long. So
yeah, it is a bittersweet moment when that happens, you know, when we have that freedom, we have that open road and we know it's going to be great, but oh man, you know,
yes.
We have to leave everything at home and our beds and, you know, the kids and the hubs. I don't have the hubs anymore, but I did. I get that. So, and how was your experience? I mean, that's when American Truckers kicked off. That's when, I mean, you had Bree TV going full-fledged.
I think that's about the time I relabeled it Bree TV. And I had the idea. So I was in the running for, I think, 7 reality shows that reached out to me.
Oh, geez. Wow. 7?
Yes. It was insane. This is over like a 2.5 year period. But yeah, I had a lot. Problem was they would either say, we're going to brand you the way we want you to act. I'm like, how's that reality TV? That was my first question. And then 2, we're not going to pay you, but you have an opportunity to be famous. And I'm like, I'm already climbing the ranks on social media. Why do I need you? And then 3, This one we almost had to deal with, and they asked me. They had me and Jordan in the truck doing an interview, and they said, "Okay, so we want you to read scripts and see how good you are at reading scripts." And my first question was, "Why are we scripting this if this is reality TV?" And so anyway, I went with it, and they said, "Okay, now what we want to do? We want to fake a fight between you and your husband. We want him to slam a door, throw things, you to scream." And I looked at her, I said, "We don't fight. Like, we have disagreements, right? A lot,
Right.
over 8 years, right? But we don't fight. We think about things and talk. We're not like that." So I told her that, and she goes, "Oh, it'll be good for film. Just do it anyway." And I'm like, I'm not going to ruin my reputation and try to fake something. So
In my
that's when I
marriage.
wanted,
Yeah.
so I wanted to do my own. At that point, I'm just like, F them. It's time we get something real. And we ducked, 16, 18 cameras on the semi truck. It was insane. Inside and out, body cameras. Like, I had every angle. And I'm like, you know what? My plan is just to film until something happens.
Okay, so did you have to hire an external company for that then? Like a production company?
Yeah, so eventually it got overwhelming when we started to go, 100,000, 200,000, we really grew. And so I brought on Air Media at that point to manage our platform. And then we had a major falling out, which is what.
Yes, we talked about that a few months ago. Yeah.
But
so, right, and how did the husband handle the initial trucking and the social media and all the attention you were getting?
So he was a little leery at first because I was getting a lot of attention from guys. But it ultimately came to, we're 2 years into knowing our relationship. No, 3 years. We were going 3 years in at that point. And ultimately he was okay with it. He trusts me. I think the time that he started to have problems with it was when we started getting the threats. That's what really bothered him. And it was a nightmare. It had gotten so bad. We had a bomb threat. We had multiple pew pew threats. I don't want to get you kicked off.
Not the very first one.
Pew pew. We had unalive threats, just a lot of really bad things. And people don't know this, but I kept an archive. Some of these guys filmed themselves saying this stuff.
Yeah, now, so
I have
a lot of people don't know what you went through at that period of time. So they look at the social media as this glorious lifestyle, but actually you have your fans, but you also there's a very dark side to all that publicity. Yeah. And you got a right up front look at how bad it could be.
100%. Yeah, that probably blindsided me the most is not realizing how bad it gets. And the biggest question I get from people is like, well, yeah, but what did you do? That pissed me off more. That was my initial reaction. What did you do? What did I do? I didn't do anything. Well, why are they mad at you?
Or it's my other one is if something, just ignore it.
Right. Just ignore it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to ignore a pew pew threat. No, you know what I did? I bought heavy body protection and I lined it against my pillow and I slept behind it like the military does.
Right.
And I violated policy at RTI and I kept a lot of pew pew power and protection in the truck, less than lethal and other things.
So some of the threats were very serious and you had to deal with the authorities on those. And were they pretty helpful with dealing with a lot of that? Because I know sometimes with social media and online bullying and threats, it's not taking as serious as it should be until something horrible happens.
Typically, I had a lot of problems with that. One was jurisdictional. The other one was more, I was looked at like, you're just being emotional or, you're blowing this out of proportion. You can't take the heat. It's just guys say that online. It's no big deal. And I'm like, you can't, it's illegal. I'm like, illegal. Popo. So, when I started showing them the videos, they took it more seriously. But then we had a jurisdictional issue, and I'm sure you can relate to this from just driving into different areas. So the problem is when it comes to online stuff, you have to report it in the jurisdiction in which you were at when the
Right.
unalive whatever happened, right? The violation happened. And so when I didn't do that, because I thought, okay, it would be local PD. You know, when I was in law enforcement, we didn't have all this internet stuff. We weren't allowed to even have a Facebook when it came out. And so anyway, long story short, I had to pull the truck over every time somebody made a serious, crime by saying something. And then I'd have to wait and call police and wait for them to take a report. That was the most frustrating. And then you had all these reports from different jurisdictions that didn't talk to each other. So it was really nothing was done. These guys are still on the loose.
So you're driving a semi, which is already a stressful job. You're away from your family. You have 14, 15, 16 cameras in your face 24 hours a day. You have all the stress of the online attackers. How are you handling it? How are you dealing with all of this?
Nearly a mental breakdown, and it nearly tore our whole family apart. Jordan's father said, I'm going to go hunt these guys down and blank the mother effer. It was to the point that's when the FBI really stepped in, because I told them, look, we've got people on both sides now, and it's coming to a head. There's going to be an incident, and it's going to be a federal incident because the number of people involved with this thing. So they actually had an agent take my case, and they put me in a, what is it called? It's kind of like a conservatorship where they take possession of what I do, and they like watch everything. And so they came back, left me a message and said, we found no evidence of a crime. And I'm like, I've got these guys on videos talking about chopping off, whatever, and hiding myself underground.
And there's no crime. I mean, I don't understand why all of a sudden threats are not a crime.
I don't get it. And it was either with local police and county, it was either an issue with the prosecutor, because they have an obligation to take a case that they think they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And they had, like the one guy said, if you send me another legal letter, then I am coming to blah, 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 blah. Well, I sent him another legal letter, and I showed the cops that. They said, well, that's not a strong enough threat to do anything.
Right.
I'm like, but he said he would. And I sent the letter, and he filmed himself saying, I'm coming up to Kansas City to blah, 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 you. I'm like, that should be enough to do something. So it was frustrating. It drove me, I'll throw you for a loop. This drove me to Scientology.
Scientology?
Yeah. So,
really?
So I'm not a part of the organization anymore, but I study it independently with a group of other people. I had some concerns about it, but I will say this.
But you needed something to,
I was at the point of having a mental breakdown. I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Well, I could see where you needed something to give you some relief from that, something else to focus on, something to bring you some enlightenment. I mean, that it's understood. Scientology does have a lot of questions around their methods. I've studied it a little bit, but not that much where I can actually speak on it. Mm-hmm. But it's with everything that you were going through, I imagine trying to find something like that was very beneficial for you.
When I did it was the videos from these, the BBC and all these documentaries. I watched all of them, and these Scientologists, they're like, people are yelling at them and they're just like staring them straight in the face. They are on it. And I'm like, okay, I need that. I need that level of confront to come up so I can deal with the heat of everything. And I will say what I experienced in their auditing and their therapy, that did seemed to flatten that emotional response to where I wasn't getting affected so bad. I could focus on the solution. So there's 100% something to it. And I could go on and on and on with Scientology because they have some good things. But
good methods, yeah.
And to be honest, from my experience, I believe they have good people too, up at most of the places. I think they twist or don't understand certain policies, and it becomes kind of counterintuitive, and it becomes a negative thing at that point, especially with self-determinism, and pushing you into certain things.
Right. So definitely, I heard that they are, once you're in, how they try to guide you and push you into certain areas, I hear is probably their biggest downfall. And they don't like to let you go after that. So
yeah,
it's like the mafia, you know too much, so you have to stay.
Yeah, I think my falling out with them was when I was saying, how do I deal with, when somebody, and they were affecting my business with the roadside at that point. I mean, they were calling, they were trying everything to destroy my reputation, my business. And I'm like, I have to deal with it. And their initial idea was, it was a good one in some cases, and that's to ignore. Right. So with a person that's dead set at getting to you and destroying you, they thrive on that energy. And so when you cut that off and you stop engaging, they spiral. It's like a downward spiral. You can watch them. They'll go into anger, then depression, then apathy, and they'll eventually just weed themselves out. Well, the problem is that doesn't always happen. That's a tactic for some cases, but when you have a guy that's batshit, and he's determined to destroy you, you have to deal with it. And when I asked for help, they said, well, we think that you're PTS, potential trouble source, you're emotionally disturbed, and as a result, I think you're creating this. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I've got the videos, everything. Right. Any average person would say.
So basically, you were choosing to be in the public opinion, so everything's coming at you is deserved. Yes. Is basically what they were saying.
Said, get up. Why did you, why don't you back off on social media? Why did you let this person? I had let a transgender friend. That's where a lot of this crap started. I let a transgender friend ride with me in the truck. I actually let a few of them. One was kicked out of a fast food restaurant, which I thought was inappropriate just because of the way they are. And so when I did that, it invited a lot of attacks and rumors against me.
A lot of hate.
And so their perspective was, you invited it. And
so you were just causing all sorts of waves. I mean,
yeah, and I'm like, look, I'm not the
public. So through all of this, how is the company handling all this?
RTI, the trucking company?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with naming them. And I will say,
you don't have to name them. You can just say the company.
Right. I don't want to get you sued either.
Say the company.
It was rough. I mean, ultimately, at first they were saying that we support women, we won't tolerate attacks, this and that. But once it escalated to police constantly getting called, racing into the property, surrounding my truck, and it was causing a scene, they're not competitors, they're the other companies they work with and contract with, department stores and so forth, they said they don't want me around anymore because I'm too much of a liability. And I said, well, how is that my fault? I'm literally coming in doing my job. And well, yeah, but you're a target now.
Yeah. So you were actually at the top of your contract at the time. You were one of the top drivers on the contract that you were on. So you were both being recognized and being discontinued at the same time, correct?
4 days before being discontinued, I was congratulated for being the top performer on the entire account. I mean,
that had to have been hard because I know it was very emotional for you.
Yeah, to go from that, and then, by the way, thank you so much for everything you do, but we can't really let you in any facilities anymore. We can't let you in high security areas because you have stuff to protect yourself. And I was starved out for freight.
So what do you do at that point? I mean, what did you do? What was your,
What did I do?
you obviously didn't crawl in a hole anywhere.
I saw things building up like 5 months prior. I could see the writing on the wall, the storm clouds gathering, like a lot of people can with trucking companies, like, hey, this could go south. And so I realized I need a plan B real quick, because what are we going to do? I mean, at that time, I hired Jordan. He worked for me. He was doing social media management for me and editing videos. Our whole life is with this truck. And if I leave the truck, my income and social media disappears.
Hold on. Everybody that's commenting, we're not going to take any questions or anything until after our discussion. So if you want to hang around, Brittney and I would be more than happy to answer questions. Thank you. Sorry, Brittney. Go ahead.
I'm an open book. But we saw things going south. And so that's where this company came from. Our pink SUV, which you can see on the, see on the wall up there. Yeah. So I got this idea. I said, we still have money, right? When I saw things going south, what I did, I worked extra. I was working part-time and then doing social media. Well, I stayed out for like 6-8 weeks. I saved up my money, kind of like I did Campus PD, right? And I saved up this big pool of money, and I said, let's go to Chicago and let's buy an old police cruiser, and then let's pay to have it wrapped just like the truck. That way we have an alternative to continue doing social media and actually have a business out of it if this trucking thing goes south.
And it actually kind of encompasses it and keeps your theme going.
It does. Honk for Pink. We continued that and everything until we got kicked out of the breast cancer walk, but that's another story. So we went through a lot, but yeah, so we brainstormed this business, and I'm like, this would be a perfect backup. Things went south. So to answer your question, what did you do? You were starved for freight. I'm sitting in St. Louis, not St. Louis. It's oh God, I forget. It's one of the new Loves they built, like an hour west of St. Louis.
Rolla?
No, on I-70. It's that little
70.
Yeah, there's like a little.
Outside of Kansas City. Okay, between St. Louis and Kansas City.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, I'm sitting there, starved out for freight, and I told the trucking company, F this. I'm going home at my own expense. Goodbye. And so I went and parked the truck. I said, if I'm going to sit, I'm going to sit at home. And I just started working on the vehicle and doing roadside, and it took off.
Okay, so when you're doing roadside, you don't have a full tow truck. So what are you guys doing? What services are you offering?
Tire change. So this was brilliant because we can offer jump starts, tire changes, lockout service, and fuel deliveries, which just takes a gas can. Lockouts take a little airbag kit. It's really easy. I'm used to it from law enforcement. And so I'm like, we can do this with an SUV. We don't need a tow truck.
Right.
And, once we have the revenue stream, we can keep upgrading. Eventually we got a winch and upgraded and so forth. But yeah, it didn't take too much to get started, which was wonderful. My husband actually suggested, why don't you DoorDash, or something like that. I said, honestly, it's not enough thrill for me. I love the danger stuff. And the thing is, like, I've always been the person to run into danger, right? It doesn't, obviously you think about it, but it doesn't bother me like it does other people. And I feel like my talents are going to waste, not doing something that I can actually go in and help people. And I'm like, at least with this, we're going to come up on accidents. We're going to be helping law enforcement, doing rescue. We're going to be doing a lot of things. And so it was up my alley.
Okay. So you get it going. Pink is parked. And now you have to decide what to do with Pink.
Yeah.
So what do you do with it?
$1,000 a week lease payment.
Yeah.
And here's the worst part. So I said, you know what? I'm going to bust my AWS. I'm going to drive up social media and then take those revenues, and I'll just pay the truck and then continue working out here until they decide to get their crap straight. And so I did, and I went in to try to pay them for their first payment. Sorry, we can't accept payment on this truck. And I said, why? And they said, your lease states that even though you're paying the payment each week, that we must deduct it from the salary that you do make from the loads you're running. And I'm like, well, wait, but you guys cut my loads off.
Well, that's a catch.
Sorry, it says it in the contract.
Okay, so drivers, if you're listening to this video, that's a great thing to look at on a contract. If you are doing a lease purchase, make sure that the revenue that you're making doesn't have to come through that trucking company. And that you're able to take that truck with you. I mean, in a lot of trucking companies, they don't allow you to take the truck with you with lease purchases.
They didn't want me to take, they didn't want me to take, and we had it in writing in the contract, but they did not want me to go to a competitor because of the social media backlash.
Right.
But I'm like, it's in the contract. I can take it. So long story short.
You can take it, but you can't make your payments unless the money's coming.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had somebody reach out to me that had a group of people that had left that trucking company and started with a new trucking company. And they said, hey, if they won't take you, we want you. We actually appreciate you. And they bought the truck, refinanced it to us, offered us media deals, and it was going great. But the problem was, by the time we executed that whole transfer, went through their stuff, was ready to take loads, this roadside business was so big that I was working 60 hours a week just managing our company, and we're very profitable. So I had to make the toughest choice in my life, and that was walk away from the semi truck.
So obviously you made that decision.
I did, and I don't doubt it. I have zero regrets. This was the greatest decision ever. I love this job, and I love helping people.
Okay, so before we start talking about Midwest Road Rescue, let's, when it came to the actual trucking part of your career, and balancing that lease purchase and your social media platform, there's a lot of challenges you face as a woman. What challenges did you face that left a mark on you now that, that you could give advice to other women that are in trucking, that are increasing their social media presence and following down that same path that you took?
Absolutely. I think the most important is to be prepared. And I wish I had more detail than that, but it blindsided me. And the biggest challenge I dealt with through my trucking career, going back all the way to law enforcement, was jealousy. Every time that I would receive a top performer award or outperform the guys, then there was instant jealousy. And if it wasn't direct, a lot of the guys were nice to me, but it was the behind the scenes talk. Before I got kicked off the final account because of the risk, there was a bunch of guys that came in and reported me for speeding, almost hitting pedestrians, violating yard policy, not wearing my safety vest, list of complaints, bunch of guys.
Okay, now you're under camera 24/7, so obviously if you were doing those things, it'd be well documented.
Smartest move in my life, get as many cameras as possible is my recommendation. The manager reached out to me because he said, Brittney, I know you wouldn't do this. I said, no, I didn't. You want to see the video? They reported me for being at the truck stops. How do I say this? Traffic-ing.
Okay, so
Edward,
is this where the OnlyFans comes in then?
Yeah, so they said I was physically doing stuff at the truck stops with the other truckers, and I was selling SE X-ray.
So basically you were bunk servicing on top of truck driving.
That's what they said. And I didn't. And you know what the funny thing was? With that whole thing, that was another out for me, because I'm like,
and these same guys are probably subscribers.
I'm sure they were. A lot of fictitious names, but I didn't even do anything bad on there. That was the worst part. I did lingerie shots. That was it. It's like boo-hoo. You see worse on
So,
a billboard. Come on
I'm sure
now.
you heard here recently there was a young lady that was doing OnlyFans in her truck and she got reported and the trucking company let her go. And then she got hired on with another trucking company who was well aware of her activities and okayed her activities in the bunk.
Oh my God.
So, I mean,
Wait, here's what started the OF was I needed additional revenue at the time if I was going to have, because I realized I'm going to have to, I got kicked out of Iowa 80. That was another thing. Anyway,
you're like the bad girl of trucking.
Yeah, so they wouldn't let me in. I had a phone call meeting with corporate, the owners of the property, as they said, you're too much of a risk factor. We can't let you on the property without heavy security. And so I was going to have to pay thousands a day for security.
Because you were a celebrity. Yeah.
Yeah. So I finally told Jordan, I said, what if because he was doing work for me on social media, but at home, and so I said, what if I up your pay instead of paying $1,000 a day for security? What if I arm you and then put you in the truck and you be my security? And that's what I did, but I didn't have the revenue. So I started OF, and that gave me the revenue to protect myself. It also gave me the revenue for the attorneys. And that's where we started sending out letters and aggressively going after people. I hired PIs.
That income stream was necessary, correct? I mean, we touched on that when we were having our own conversation. I mean, that short time that you did that gave you the means to survive all the media attacks you were facing, all the lawyers, and make that transition from the current trucking company to Midwest.
It did. It gave us our initial investment capital to start this company. It saved my behind. And so I stand by it. I don't have any problem with what I did. And, people say, well, you invite yourself for more danger. What about these crazy? Most of the people on there, by the way, were polite as hell. I mean, they were so polite to me. And they were like, I don't want to be disrespectful. If I say anything, let me know. I'm a big fan of you. It was the weirdest dichotomy, right?
No, the worst people are truck drivers, obviously.
I would rather
I get them too. So the worst comments we get are from people in our own field.
Right? Exactly. But yeah, I would rather be alive and well with a little controversy than, and plus, here's the thing, like Allie Knight, I don't know if you followed her. She was before me, she was the first one to hit like 100,000 subs in the trucking space. She was it. Everybody followed her. And
what was her name?
Allie Knight.
No, I remember. Was it a Kelly that did the iceberg truckers or something?
Oh yeah, she's on. Last I saw, she's doing her own social media, which is
woohoo! Yeah. She's the only one that I really paid attention to. So
but the FBI got involved with her. Somebody threatened to her truck, and she got out. She left it at that point. And my advice privately from different females in truck driving was just get out. That's the best thing you can do, is just run. And that's not me. I'm like, so let these a-holes win. I've never backed down from a fight. My first week in law enforcement doing the land security deputized, we had an active shooter call. That was my first night behind the wheel.
Oh, wow.
And we get this active shooter call, and I go, oh my God, I might not make it past my first shift.
Right.
So anyway, I've never backed down. And so I'm like, I'm not going to start now. And that's what unfortunately, it escalated the situation. And, it was rough. It was really rough. So I would say the biggest thing is be prepared if you're growing on social media, document everything, and then make sure you have video. I mean, more cameras, the better. Even if they're just your private cameras, nobody else has to see them, but document it someplace.
Yeah, documentation is very important in today's day and age. So transitioning over to Midwest, you are the CEO. You guys are doing great. I believe you told me 50,000 a month in payroll. So you are rocking it.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Oh my God, it's going amazing. Our biggest challenge right now is we're growing. Our growth curve is so high that we can't get enough people, good people, quick enough to continue to accommodate that growth. And so that's been my biggest challenge recently. But I can tell you, we've went 2 months now with week over week growth. I mean, it's constant.
So how big are you now? How many units do you have?
I don't even know. I don't even know.
A lot.
I can tell you, yeah, ballpark, I would say we're approaching 30, which is a good sized crew.
Yeah. Do you just do the Kansas City area then?
So we currently cover all of Northeast Kansas, a good chunk of Northwest Missouri. We cover all of Southwest Missouri. We cover Indiana and parts of Kentucky already.
Oh, you have people in Indiana too.
We do. Yes, I have managers out there and in Missouri, and we're growing. Honestly, right now, I believe in 2025, we're going to cross our first 100 people with the company. So it's phenomenal. I just can't, I'm floored.
How are you handling the satellite locations? Are those under you guys? Yes. Or are you doing, so you are going out and you're hiring somebody for that area, setting up the equipment, training, showing them how you want Midwest Red Rescue to be run?
That's right. Yeah, me and my husband have made trips out to all of these different regions. We've hired a regional manager to supervise the whole thing. We put them through training on how to train people and they also work the job as well, because we're still small enough that they work as techs as well, but they're on the supervisor end. And
so they're going out there themselves, and they're not sitting behind a desk. They're going out there and jump starting it. And
I think that's right. Probably the thing I struggle with most is getting stuck behind the desk. I don't even like getting stuck behind the desk.
Yes, because a lot of times you're out doing.
Yeah, this last winter storm we had up here, I told Jordan, he's like, you need to be in the office. And I'm like, I can't stand it anymore. People are wrecking everywhere. I'm going out. And so that's what I did. I love it. But yeah, I mean, we have every challenge imaginable trying to grow the company, because you have a duplication issue, right? You need to be able to perfect the hiring process, make sure every area is doing their job. McDonald's had this problem early on. I don't know if you know this, their first 1 in 3 stores that they, before Ray Kroc, that they tried, I think it was Arizona or something, and they started selling tacos. They gave up duplicating McDonald's at that point until Ray Kroc stepped in. And because they were so frustrated as owners, they said, it's more headache than it's worth. We're not going to expand. And Ray Kroc's like, you're missing it. You're missing it. Oh my God. The arches, the golden arches nationwide. Anyway, I watched that whole thing. I devour documentaries and books. But yeah, so we're kind of at the same point, is that we're ready to start expanding 1 or 2 facilities a month, which is great, but we really have to make sure everything's covered. Policies, procedures, duplication, everyone's following instructions.
It's dangerous. Road safety service is very dangerous. And being a truck driver, we see it daily how dangerous it is.
Yes, for sure. I mean, you're just, it's a roulette wheel. You're playing Russian roulette is what you're doing every day. And so one of the things that we do, which we do get controversy for, I know, surprise, surprise, we OCA test, we psych test people, just like the police department does.
There's nothing wrong with that. They psych test a lot of fields.
Yeah, we use the Oxford Capacity Analysis. It tests their awareness, their ability to follow instruction.
Well, I imagine situational awareness is a very much needed attribution for that job. I mean, 100%. It's something that when I was a trainer, you have to drill into drivers.
You do. And it's your life. It's the lives of everybody else you're serving on the side of the road. And so if I had one guy, we had to let him go immediately, but he was so slow in his responses. You would say something to him, what? And I'm like, for his own good, I don't want to see this guy get, on the side of the road and So we've had to make some tough decisions, unfortunately, but yeah, we background checked everybody, clean backgrounds. We're up to par with law enforcement and fire rescue as far as our services.
So you are setting up in the Midwest. Are you going to just conquer the Midwest? What's your plans? I mean, you have a notebook like I do. You know, we have a conversation. So are we going big with, do we have big dreams? Do we have a pretty big business plan?
I want to be the biggest, most efficient roadside assistance company in the nation. That is my goal.
That's a great goal to have.
Yes. And we are starting incident response teams now, which are specialized units that are going to be trained in fire rescue, search and rescue, and even water rescue. We plan to buy a boat. So our goal, because sometimes people make this disconnect, they're like, jump starts, water rescue. How does this? Anything road and rescue, I want to be able to handle. If roads get flooded and people are stuck, I want to send a crew in to go get them out and make sure they're not swept down river.
So are you guys set up with the insurance companies and so forth? So when somebody has a flat tire, that you're on the preferred call list, then do you have contracts set up?
We do. As a matter of fact, I'm having to kind of on the contracts because we have another big company that wants to do a deal with us, but we just don't have the personnel right now. So, but yeah, we have so many. I mean, popular. I don't know if it's. I'm not saying anything negative, so I can name the name. Is this like U-Haul, AAA? I mean,
right. So I have Progressive. I just switched to them. And my BMW, I was up in Chicago. They were doing road construction, they had the road all dug up and a metal piece was left sticking up and it popped my tire. So, I called Progressive and they handled all that, right? They sent somebody out and they didn't have somebody close enough to switch the tire on the side of the road. So they came and picked me up, towed me 2 miles down the road to have the tire installed. But they work with road crews and tow companies and roadside service companies all over the United States, and State Farm, U-Haul, all those. Everybody has those. Just like mechanics, contract them. You get the preferred. You get the first call. Top of the list.
We just got preferred status with State Farm. We are now.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yes, and you know how I did it. Okay, this is funny. I recovered a stolen vehicle for them because the cops were too busy to deal with it. And this person kept jumping jurisdiction to jurisdiction in the KC metro area. And so the cops, they were at their wits' end. They're like, we're too busy to deal with it. So I said, I'm tired of this. On the principle of the dang thing, I called my other ex-cop buddy, and I said, let's go up to Kansas City. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, F this. I'm going to find this lady. We did a time study from past calls with her. We tracked her location down. I've got it all on video. It hasn't come out yet. Body cam, everything. We found this vehicle. And I even teased KC Metro. And I didn't mean to be mean, but I even let them know. 2 minutes. Took me 2 minutes to find this vehicle. You've had it how long? The report since 3? And they're like, well, we got busy. It's like, really? Anyway, we recovered this vehicle for one of their clients. And they were so thrilled. They gave us preferred status now. And so I just thought it was
congratulations.
That's a great kind of nuts for doing this. You're not even getting paid, Britt. Why are you doing this? It's the moral of, it's the principle of the thing. It bothers me.
You do for them, they're going to do for you. So
yeah. This is one thing I learned early on was money is the product of reciprocal altruism. There's a fancy way of saying if you create value in an environment where another, like a customer creates value for you, then money is created. If you want a money tree, that's how to do it. And so, but the key is the environment, because how many times have you had a job that you've given so much, or a relationship, it went to crap. And you're like, I gave so much. Why didn't that work? It was an environmental issue. It has to be a back and forth. But if you find that environment and give, that's the secret to the whole thing.
That's true. Yeah. So you got this going on. I see you've kind of slowed down on the social media aspect of everything. Bree TV, your YouTube channel. Are you planning on bringing Midwest Road Rescue live? What's your social media plans for that?
I like that idea. We may consider that. We've actually talked about things like that. I want to do more media. So the problem, I'm 60 to 80 hours a work week right now. It's insane.
Oh, it's kind of like trucking.
Yeah, exactly. So I fit right in, right? So if you ever want to start a business, you're ready already. But it's a time issue, is what it is, and that's the main thing. And it frustrates me because I love social media. I love to share what we do. It inspires other people, and what if somebody else starts a roadside company? I don't see that as a problem. I'm like, woohoo! If you beat me as a competitor, I get excited because I'm like,
so you're the same as me because I am very competitive, and my best side comes out when I have somebody to compete with. So the guys I work with, I like to compete on how many miles I do in a day, how close to my clock I can get before I shut down. I like to beat them. I mean, I like to beat them in any area that I possibly can, and I love having that competition factor.
Me too, and it's not malicious, right? It's
no, it's just fun. It's fun,
especially if you have a good heart in it. If we're competing to do the best job for a customer, oh my God, somebody can beat me. Woohoo! That's great. Somebody's provided a better service. I love it.
Right. So with social media and it being your company, and you are having to be in charge of the publicity, but also if the liability part of it, how does that change things for you?
My husband's a good buffer. He's a good kind of stop for certain things, because I'll just I don't care. I'll put it out there. I don't give a care. Sometimes he's like, hey, Bunny. He calls me Bunny. I call him my bear because he's like a teddy bear. And he's like, maybe you should think about this because of XYZ, and that might make our guy look bad or this or that. And I'm like, okay, I didn't really think it through to that extent. So it does make for a challenge, but not a whole lot has changed. I'm not worried about putting things out there within reason. I think it's important to contextualize everything. That's probably one thing I do better at, is explaining a situation before just blatantly going, this person did this or this happened, and pointing fingers. It's more about the challenges that we go through, as a company or whatever, rather than pointing fingers.
Right. So just instead of just seeing the line from A to B, you see the perimeter around A and B.
100%.
And so you like to show the whole picture instead of just the focus.
Yeah, the big thing that changed too, we hired a drone pilot. Oh my God.
That's cool.
So we did the Festival of Lights parade the other night.
Nice.
So cool. We were the biggest category in this parade in this small town, and it was so much fun. But we came in with a bang. I hired a drone pilot who happened to have a black Tesla Cybertruck. And it was like the biggest, strongest, powerful model that they make. And so he was honking, and kids were like, and then there's a drone flying around, and then our emergency vehicles come sweeping it. We made a scene. And so it was funny.
That's awesome. And that's great publicity, though.
It was. We had some backlash. People are like, why don't want to be filmed? And I'm like, you're in the middle of a freaking parade. What do you expect? People are going to film you and take photos. But, God, I don't remember what I was saying with that. I was going to make a point with the whole social media side. But anyway, we've got that. That was a ton of fun. But we love doing stuff like that. It's just a time thing for me.
So when you're not working 60 some hours a week, and what are you doing? What kind of hobbies you got going on?
Sleep,
right? No, I get it. You read a lot. We talked about that last night.
I do. And yeah, in the midst of like, I do try to walk in the mornings, surprisingly. I try, even if it's a few minutes on the treadmill. We've got a little gym down here in our office, outside the office. And so I'll listen to audiobooks. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that from trucking. But I'll listen to the audiobook, and then when I'm finished, I buy the physical copy as a trophy and I put it on my shelf.
Nice.
And so
I know, right? I like having my books there. I didn't bring my whole pile to my desk.
I haven't yet. I got the pile
because you totally outdid me.
But the most important thing to me is like, if something happens to me one day and I'm no longer here, I know I don't want people saying, "Oh my God, she was so talented. She was so talented." If you say that, fine, I appreciate it, but don't stop there. I want everybody to know, like, what attributed to my success was knowledge. It was knowledge. And the most important thing I could give somebody, if there's one piece of advice, whether it be marriage, business, any area of your life, it's education fund. Put $40 a month aside, whatever amount, and start devouring books, trainings, find gurus. I mean, I followed Ty Lopez. My income doubled after following his course.
I just did a public speaking workshop.
Yeah.
And I love to talk. I mean, but it's great. Networking, you learn new things. You can't become stagnant. I mean, you have to continue to expand your horizons.
You have to. Yeah. I wasn't born ready to roll and, just successful or anything else. It was the books. So, I mean, that's one thing I just want everybody to know is like, if I'm no longer around, don't say it was because I'm special or this or that. It was the books. It was literally I'm no different than anybody else. It was the books.
Right, the picture going.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. 10X rule. I follow that in my business. Grant Cardone. Fake about money. Robert Kiyosaki. Money Master Plan. Starfish and the Spider. Talks about autonomous history of like Indians and different like Indians. They weren't an autonomous group. Very powerful. Psychology of Money. Great CEOs. Like there's so many.
Those are great books.
So yeah, important. And that's the one thing that I want to be for is, hey, read, learn.
Yeah, I see it's lagging.
Yep. Did we lose?
It just started lagging. I think it's just there it goes. I think maybe the internet was just pausing out for a minute. There we go. So, as I was telling you, do you hear me now?
I can hear. We're good.
Okay, we're good. Yeah. So, I was telling you earlier, when I set up my podcast, being women in transportation, we face a lot of things. As a single woman, I came out here right at the time that I was getting an empty nest and going through a horrible divorce. So for me, this was my midlife crisis. But the time on the road was my healing time. And, trucking and the money I make from trucking, the mental health break that I get from driving down the road, look out that windshield and jamming all day. I like to say, I saved myself is a tagline that I think is very important. And we spoke about this earlier. And I know with all of the struggles you've gone through, all the highs and the lows and the changes, you've had to start over, and you've had to pull yourself out of some really bad situations. So when I say those words, and you did an earlier when I say them, that I saved myself, because it hits a nerve with a lot of us. When I say those words, I saved myself, and you think of your experiences and where does that hit you? What do you see and feel?
You know what I see? Okay, and this isn't a religious thing by any means, because I'm not like really religious, but I believe God, the universe, whatever. It's like we were given this paint set and this canvas, and the universe has told you, create. This is your life. Do something creative. And so the hypothetical in my eyes of like God or whatever is like, here, like if you give your child a paint set, you don't want to tell them what to paint, right?
Right.
You want them to be creative. And that comes back to what you're saying. It's like, you are the captain of your life. Do something amazing. Like, don't let things hold you back. One thing that's a big talk is self-confidence, you know, whether it be in trucking or any industry. Well, self-determination, which is your ability to say, I own my life, I take responsibility, and I'm going to do X, Y, Z. That's self-determination. If you don't have that, you're going to lack confidence. So if you have a confidence issue, you need to take a look at where you're limited and where you're not free to act and work and build your life as the pilot. And so I think that is so key. So I love how you say that.
It's also the line between realizing it and actually taking action. So I have this visual that I say. So imagine you are in this auditorium, right? And you have a guy walking on the stage and he's giving this speech and he's telling you, everybody's saying, I need a sign. I need a sign from God. I need a sign from God. You hear that all the time, right? Give me a sign. And the speaker says, how many times does God have to knock on the door before you actually open the door? You know, he can give you every sign there is, but if you're not acknowledging that it's a sign, if you're not opening that door and accepting that, if you're not taking the action, you know, like I can say, I want to be a gardener, right? God send me a sign. He can send me the seeds. He can send me everything I need, fertile ground, rain. But if I don't realize that those are signs and put it all together, it's not going to do me any good.
Yeah, and if you don't realize they're already there, he's given them to you.
Yeah.
Check your, you know, I remember like the Old Testament story about is it Elijah in the still small voice, looking for God in some spectacular way. And then it was in this still small voice that he heard him. And so my thought to that is, check what's in your heart. Check what's in your intuition, your spirit. What are you feeling deep down? If you're drawn to something and you just really feel it's the right thing, you need to stand behind that. That's God giving you that opportunity, saying, go. Like the word's already been given, go. You know, get out there and do it. And it'll change your life forever. That was the biggest realization ever for me in the trucking space.
It is. And you know, I appreciate you coming on and doing my first podcast. You know, I think you've done an amazing job, especially with everything that you faced. And you're still doing it. I mean, you're still out there doing what you love. And you're keeping your head held high, and you're still, you know, killing it every single day. You know, you haven't let what anybody says deter you, you know. You know, you have dominated and kept going in everything that you've accomplished, regardless of the men saying, oh, don't, or I'm going to do this to you, or I'm going to do that. And it didn't deter you. You know, you've been very brave. And I think that's very honorable. And now let's answer some questions from everybody who's been blowing up, especially that one guy that's like, Brittney.
Hello, over here.
100 comments on here.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, you had one guy that was just totally blowing it up. Brittney, remember me? Brittney. Everybody kept telling him, wait. Can you see the comments? Yeah.
Barely, yes.
Okay. I don't know who he was.
I see Juan. Hey, Juan. I haven't seen Juan in a while.
Are you going to expand to Wisconsin? Oh, hey, Amanda. Are you going to expand to Wisconsin, Brittney?
Eventually. So, yeah, we're going to tackle Kansas first because we have, without getting a big long thing, AAA is not nationwide. They have different clubs. We're pre-approved for Kansas, so we're going to saturate Kansas first, and then we're going to go nuts on going across the country. So we'll be in your neck of the woods before too long. Let's see. Okay, I just saw the expanding to Wisconsin. I'm a little slow.
You had a Big Daddy Kane saying, hi, Brittney.
Hello, hello.
So everybody that's bounced in and out, what did you think of the first podcast and the conversation? Did we?
I vote 10 out of 10. I think you're awesome.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. I was like I told you, I was really worried about what direction, but this is so comfortable to me.
Isn't that amazing when you just sit and actually talk about real things?
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it.
And I think that's what people want to hear. I don't think you work for Brittney. This was very informative.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Is she a good boss?
I like her, Brittney. Oh, okay. I think I know who this is.
He said you're a good boss.
Yay! Thank you. I appreciate it. Your performance score was awesome this week, by the way. I just looked at it tonight.
Manhattan Dave. What was your worst call? Amanda wants to know.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Ooh. That would be a tough one because we've had a lot. There were so many. I don't even know if I could single them out because
of that. Well, I mean, oh, you bring it on, Kentucky Kent. You bring it on. The guys will tell you. I like to compete. I like to be the best.
I love it. You and I need to play Monopoly or something sometime.
Right? Taylor shows your name. Oh, Taylor Lee. Well, the Taylor Lee guy keeps saying, can you go live with me? I don't know who that is. He's wanting you to go live with him, Brittney.
One of these days when I have more time, that might happen. We need to do more lives over on this side.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
I
do a couple nights a week generally at the end of my day when I'm unwinding because I'm not a TV person. And by the end of the day, I can't read. So I'll eat dinner and I'll hop on live for a little bit. People ask me questions about my current company.
That's how we should do it because I have little bits of time here and there down here in the office. I'm a retired firefighter from Conway Fire Rescue. Is that in Missouri? I think we cover your area. I'm scrolling back on some of the older ones since it was a little slow. Let's see. Challenge accepted. Mm-hmm. Nope.
I emailed to get an application to get on with you in Leavenworth, Kansas. You had a user that sent that?
Yeah. So anybody in the Leavenworth, Kansas City area, we're starving for people right now. We have so much business. Please apply. It's join@midwestroadrescue.com. That'll go straight to our hiring HR person.
Juan said you're the reason he went to RTI 5+ years ago.
Yes, I remember that. And Bill, the owner, he's a great guy. And they just had in my opinion, they had some management flaws that led to some bad situations. So I hate that happened.
Yeah. I'm currently laid over in Chateau tonight, running that Beeville front this week. Nice.
Let's see. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Taylor. Oops. Let's see.
So are you working nights now? Is that what you do generally, more of a later schedule?
I'm actually on day shift normally. Normally I'm from like 3 a.m. to 3 p.m. But so once a week, this is kind of my getaway, all right? Because once a week I switch shift to night and I don't have the phones ringing. And so I can play hooky from, the phones and, meetings with people and stuff like that. So I can get more things done behind the scenes, like setting policy and the other issues that we need to deal with.
Yeah, when I ran the bar, it was the opposite. I would come in morning so I could get all that done when nobody was there,
yes.
for the deliveries and all that. And it was quiet. And
Yep.
so now I don't
I
have to worry
love the
about
quiet
that.
time.
All these dang Walmart drivers on here. I wonder why. Kentucky can't. I wonder why.
That's funny.
One of them asked me why I wasn't at work. I don't work 7 days a week. My niece is in here, Miss Caitlin. She just liked the live.
Holy heck, it's Brittney. I'm still on some of these old ones. New Florence, Missouri. Okay, that Loves that we were talking about.
Yeah.
That I finally said, I'm done, I'm going home. New Florence, that Loves up there. I was sitting in the east side of the parking lot up there. And nice Loves.
It is a nice Loves. That's the one where the parking lot is kind of an angle, though, isn't it?
Yes, it kind of comes down a little bit.
Yeah. It's on the hill. So it is a nice Loves. They needed it right there.
They did. Yeah, I don't know if you've been through the Kansas side in a while, but they've now, they built a Loves north of Topeka now. I've said for years, we need more truck stops in those areas.
Yeah, no, I haven't been on that side because normally when I come in, I go down to Ottawa. We have that DC in Ottawa.
Oh, yes, I know exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I go to Ottawa. Or there's there's a Walmart right there by the Petro on the east side of town. So if I go through, I normally stay there or Ottawa. So
nice.
Or on the northeast side of town. I don't go to that northwest side very often.
If you're ever out in that area, let me know because our facility is like 12 miles away, if even that.
Really?
Yeah, our main one.
Thank you, Kent. I appreciate you. How far are you from Kansas City, Amanda said?
I think 35 miles, maybe.
Because you're in Olaf, aren't you? You're in Olaf?
Olaf?
Oh, isn't that where you're at in Kansas? Oh, is that how you say it? Olaf? Olaf?
Oh, no.
Am I saying it wrong?
You're not alone. Olathe. You would never get it.
I'm way off.
Olathe.
It's like, what are you saying?
So no, we're actually southwest of there, believe it or not. We moved out west, but yeah, we're not that far. We're in the area. So we're like south of Lawrence.
Night Kent. Night cab over. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody. Brittney, I'm going to pop you on the Zoom here in a minute, and I'm going to close out the live. Everybody have a great night. I know, Scramble North. I know.
Hello, Olathe.
Thank you for coming to the live, and y'all have a great night.
See ya.